Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to be talking you through my current minimal makeup routine, which is also very Emma Watson inspired, and I thought, seeing as though I'm going to see Beauty and the Beast this weekend, that I would do this tutorial now. I really hope you guys enjoy this and let's get into it. So I've done all of my skincare routine and I'm going to start off my base by using the Estée Radiance Activator. This is a new primer that I've been using a lot recently and I just use a small amount and it's very glowy and really perfecting on the skin, and it makes such a great base, especially when I'm using something very lightweight on top. It kind of helps to make things look a little bit more perfect even though you don't have the most coverage. So I'm just pumping one pump of that onto the back of my hand. The pump that comes out is huge. I would say you maybe only need half of that. And then I just use my ring finger just to smooth that over my skin. And this just gives like the most glowy, radiant, as the name would suggest, look to your skin. I love it. Can you see that? Oh my gosh. So that's primer all nicely blended in, and now I'm going to be going in with the Jart Water Fuse BB Cream. This is a really old favourite of mine. If you have been around on this channel long enough to remember back when I used to use this in like 2013, please let me know in the comments because I'd be really interested to know if you are still here. But this is a really gorgeous lightweight BB cream and it adds a really lovely glow to the skin. It's kind of dewy but it's not too dewy, and the coverage is great given the fact that it is so lightweight, and I am just a long time fan of this. I picked this up when I was in the States because I can't seem to find it in the UK at the moment, so if you know anywhere that does stock this in the UK, please do let me know. But just like with the primer, I squeeze a small blob of that onto the back of my hands. You really don't need very much with this at all. And then again, I just use my ring finger and I start from my nose and cheek area and then just blend out because I need less coverage towards the edge of my face. And this just helps to correct a lot of redness, add a nice little amount of coverage. If I have like blemish free skin, then I will use this and I don't even need to use concealer. And then it also adds a really beautiful kind of dewiness to the skin as well. So I've popped the majority of it all over my face, and then I usually just add a little bit more around my nose just so my concealer has less work to do and I use less concealer. And I also just pop a little bit over my eyes just to neutralise any grey or redness. And then I also just pop a little bit down my neck as well just to make sure everything is nicely blended and there are no lines, just in case. So that is my BB cream done, and BB creams are a really nice one if you are going for that kind of Emma Watson vibe because she does always have very, very glowy skin, but at the same time it's always very natural. She lets a lot of like her freckles show through and things like that. I unfortunately have a grand total of one freckle that can show through. I'm not even sure it's a freckle, it may be a mole. It's also a really nice way to let your skin breathe if you are normally a fan of heavier foundations or anything like that. I love the YSL Touche Eclat foundation, but I do like to use this the majority of the week just to let my skin breathe a little bit more, but just if I want some makeup, it's just like a really lovely base. But I do have a few blemishes, so I'm going to go in and conceal those, and then I also am just going to conceal underneath my eyes, and I'm going to be using the NARS. What is this called? I just got this. This is the Soft Matte Complete Concealer in the shade Creme Brulee, which is 2.5. I picked this up in the States and I think it's just come out over here as well now, and this is the most amazing like creamy kind of pot concealer. It's so high coverage, and I know a lot of people don't. I've read that a lot of people don't like using this underneath their eyes. I love using this under my eyes because I have such dark circles, but I do feel like when I'm wearing a BB cream, because it's so glowy, it can sometimes highlight imperfections. I just go for a little bit more coverage on any kind of darkness or redness. And hopefully you can see that I don't really use very much of this concealer. It is super, super covering, so you really don't need a lot. A little bit really does go a long way, but it's just so, so good for covering those under eye blemishes. I'm also just covering blemishes on my forehead, and this is where I use a little bit more product, and I just use my, what brush is this? This is the Azoeva Concealer Buffer Brush, the 124 brush, just to press the product into my skin, and then I blend around the edges. I tend not to blend too much on top of the actual scar, just because then I find you tend to rub away a lot of the product. And then just use the excess to take care of the redness between my eyebrows and around my nose. I think I'm going to need a bit more around my nose today because for some reason it's super red. Oh my god, I love that concealer so much. I would highly recommend this, especially if you're into like creamier consistencies of concealer. So before we move on to eyes, I'm actually going to do a little bit of highlighting and illuminating, even though we are looking quite glowy already. So I'm going to be using the YSL Touche Eclat underneath my eyes. Kind of as always, this is a staple of mine, but especially when I'm doing minimal makeup, I find it really helps to brighten this under eye area, and especially if I'm not doing too much on my overall eye, like I'm not doing liquid liner or anything that like really makes my eyes pop and looks bright. I find that this is an essential for me. I'm just blending in the YSL Touche Eclat using the Sephora airbrush concealer brush. And then I'm also going to be using the RMS Living Luminizer, and RMS Beauty is a brand that I know Emma Watson uses and really likes a lot. I've actually seen a lot of interviews with her recently about like her clothing preferences and beauty routines. I'll link them in the info box because I really enjoy reading them as like an all-time Emma Watson fangirl. So RMS is a brand that she really loves. She uses like green natural beauty kind of like, I think it's like 80% of the time or something like that. And this is a really beautiful highlighter. It's perfect over the cheekbones and down the bridge of the nose. It does take a little bit of warming up, but I've been using it a lot recently and I really like that. And then I'm also going to add a bit of the RMS Beauty, what is this, Lip2Cheek in the shade Demure onto my cheeks. I haven't used this yet, but I'm really excited to use this. So you can use that, as the name would suggest, on your lips and cheeks, and it's just a really beautiful rosy pink colour. So now that that is done, I'm going to be adding a tiny bit of definition to my face, and I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Look in a palette. This is the original one, and you might be able to see that it is very well loved by me. I use the bronzer in this every single day. It doesn't look like anything special, but it works really well for me, and it's super subtle, which makes doing minimal makeup with this really nice and easy because I can't really go over the top. I use a tiny amount, it blends out really well. It doesn't look too orange, but it doesn't look too ashy and brown. I've literally dipped my brush in once and I sweep it around my cheekbones and then I take it all the way up through my temples, and I don't really need to use too much more than that for like my minimal daytime look. So I just added a little bit of definition to my cheeks and temples, and then I also run this just down my neck and underneath my jawline, just to add a little bit of definition under there. And then as always, I'm going to add a little bit of definition to my nose as well. Also, I will link in the info box, or I will try and find the photos that I've been using as a reference recently for this look so that you guys can go and have a look for yourself. So next I'm going to be working on my eyes just a tiny bit. I'm going to be using a new palette which you won't have seen me use before. This is the Huda Beauty, I can't remember what this is called, textured eyeshadow palette, the rose gold edition, something like that, that's what it says on the back. I just picked this up a few weeks ago and I've been really enjoying using the matte shades of this. I haven't used the super metallic-y shades yet, and I'm very excited to finally use them at some point. I've been using the shade Bay a lot, just all over my eyelid with a little bit of sandalwood, which is this top brown colour up here, just through the crease, and I've really been enjoying that look. And I also add a little bit of black truffle in there just to thicken up my lash line as well. And this is just a really nice, easy eyeshadow look. It doesn't really look like there's any eyeshadow there, so it's all very minimal and just perfect for an everyday look. And even though there is a colour going in the crease, it's just nothing too harsh. It's very subtle. Barely looks like there's anything there once you're done blending it out. It's just very soft and natural, and all of the Emma Watson looks that I've seen recently, you can barely tell that there's any kind of eyeshadow going on, but you can just tell there's a little bit of something there. And this is a really nice one if you're not really too into eyeshadow. So I'm just using an angled brush to apply black truffle just to my upper lash line. And I always make sure I get this as close to the lash line as I can because we don't want things to look too smoky. Although sometimes if I have more time and I'm not feeling like having a super minimal look, I will go in and blend the outer corners of this bit of eyeshadow out with another kind of warm chocolatey brown, and it looks really good. So we're nearly done for eyes. Now I'm just going to be curling my lashes, which is something that I've got back into recently as part of my kind of everyday minimal makeup routine. I find that it just looks so much better if I curl my lashes. And then I use a layer of the Estee Lauder Little Black Primer over the top, which is waterproof and it helps to hold a curl. So I'm just using my Kevyn Aucoin eyelash curlers and just pumping away at my lashes. This is just how I find they work best. I don't know if you can see, it just makes such a difference. This is why I came in closer, by the way, because I wanted you to see how different my lashes look from one eye to the other. And then I'm just applying a layer of the Estee Lauder Little Black Primer. This is a really nice one as well if you don't need a lot of length or want a lot of volume either, but you just need a tint to your lashes and you want them to stay curled. And I'm also just adding a tiny bit of that to my bottom lashes. So now we are moving on to brows. I'm going to be using my usual Benefit Brow Gel. I have just fallen in love with this because it is the exact shade of my eyebrows, and it's really hard to find an actual match for my eyebrows because they're very, very grey toned. And I'm not really going to be filling them in too much. I'm just going to be filling in a few sparse gaps and evening up some of the edges that aren't really so neat. The underside of my brows are just a total mess at all times. And then just neatening up the tail as well, but not really too much other than that. And then I'm just combing that product out using a spoolie just to make sure nothing's looking too harsh. And now I'm going to set my eyebrows using the L'Oreal Brow Artist Plumper. And I've noticed a lot recently that Emma Watson has her eyebrows brushed up all the time, which I really like because I just think it makes every makeup look really soft, and I think it's a really pretty brow look. I know it's not for everyone, but I personally really like it. So I'm going to be brushing my brows upwards. And a little tip, if you're a bit too scared to brush your eyebrows like fully upwards, I do it at the front of my brow where I know that I've trimmed my brow hairs to be shorter, and then as we get towards the outer part of the brow where things can get a bit crazy, I brush more outward than upward, and it just helps to keep things a little bit more in place. So that is pretty much the whole look, and we are finally on to lip products. I have a new favourite lip liner at the moment, and it's the MAC Mariah Carey lip liner in the shade, I'm not sure what shade this is. It's the So Dramatic Pro Longwear Lip Pencil, and this is like a tan brown coloured lip liner, but I find for me it matches my lip colour really, really well. And I basically just really lightly trace my lip line using this, and it looks so natural. And I don't do much to the bottom lip line just because my bottom lip doesn't ever really need filling out, just needs a little bit of lining, but my top lip is quite uneven and it gets really pale towards the edges, so it just kind of fades out. Then I blend that in. And then I'm going to be using this lipstick from Bite Beauty, which is the Amuse Bouche lipstick in the shade Meringue. And it's a really, I've got hair on my lip. And it's a really lovely natural pinky colour. And I've been looking at the different colours that Emma Watson wears recently, and I really love the fact that she loves an orange lipstick, which I also love as well. But for a minimal everyday look, she tends to lean towards like a nudie pink, and this is my current favourite nudie pink. I got this from Sephora, if anyone is wondering. I'm not sure if you can get these in the UK yet. I'm just dabbing that into my lips. It's quite matte and very, very pigmented, so I don't want to go too full on. And then blend again. And that is it for this Emma Watson inspired minimal makeup look. I love doing this makeup at the moment. It's really quick when you're not talking through it on camera, really easy, and it feels really lightweight as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Please let me know if you recreate it, tweet me or tag me on Instagram. I would love to see you guys recreate this look. I will leave previous videos here and a subscribe button somewhere here on the screen for you. If you are new and you would love to subscribe, I would love to have you back for more videos. I hope you're all having the best day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.